Well, hey everybody, this week we're going to be taking a look back at a South Dakota trip that I took this past fall with my buddy Scott. We had to make 2 trips out there to get the job done, but it was well worth it. So our first morning, Scott and I decided to tag along together and just go to a high point and just do some glassing that morning to see what was all out there. Right away we saw a lot of does and fawns. It was kind of cool watching the little fawns play around. So we decided to drive around a little bit. Scott was going to show me the land, and once you know it, we ran into a dandy right away. Later on that day, Scott and I split up. I decided to go to a spot that he showed me earlier in the day just to kind of glass the big creek bottom that was below me. And as I was sitting there doing my interviews, I kept hearing this noise next to me, and I thought it was my water bottle leaking, but I was wrong. So I decided to distance myself from that rattlesnake, and once you know it, right away I started to see some deer making their way up the draw. Now these deer are about 200 yards away, and they're kind of making their way towards me, but it was just so calm I was not able to make a move. Kind of rare for South Dakota, not being windy, but these deer ended up being about 100 yards away from me once they made their way up to the top, and I was just not able to close the distance. So the next morning, Scott and I decided to go out and do a little spot and stalk. And right away I was able to spot this young muley, and as I was looking at him, this ghost appeared in the background. I knew right away it was a buck I wanted to go after, so I waved Scott over. Scott came over, and I decided to go out, and I got downwind of him, and as you can see, he stands up. He was facing our direction, and I knew the bigger deer was facing this direction, but as I was going over there, I didn't know this, but the bigger one stands up, he turns, and he ends up laying back down. And I got about 15 yards away. All I could see were the top of the antlers, and he took off.
Good morning, everybody. It is our last hunt and our last sit here in South Dakota, and there's a deer right there. Looks like it might be a buck.
So our first trip out there was successful but unsuccessful of harvesting a deer. So he decided to make another trip back out there.
Well, we just got out to South Dakota, and we saw a lot of good rut activity going on. Saw 2 pretty good muleys chasing some does, so pretty optimistic about the hunt tonight. We got tonight, all day tomorrow, and after that we'll be heading back to Minnesota. But right now, getting ready to head out to the stand and hopefully get something on the ground. It is the firearm season, but we're going to be hunting with our Parker yet. I just have an archery tag, but Scott's going to be with the rifle. So hopefully we get some action here.
That first night in the stand, I spotted this really nice whitetail, so I decided to hit the antlers together to see if I could bring him in. The next morning was pretty eventful. Right away off the bat, I spotted a nice muley on the track of a hot doe. After the morning sit, Scott ended up spotting a nice muley buck and decided to put the stock on him.
Attaboy, yep. There you go. Sweet. Nice kicker.
Well, we were driving to a spot and spotted this guy, and I put the sneak on him. Gave me a shot at about 50 yards. We got a buck down. Meat in the freezer. Would have been a dandy next year, but decided to give him one.
It's kind of the last day out here too.
Yeah. Running out of time.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Later that night, we decided to set up right where this rancher stores his round bales, and as you can see, I got my Arctic Shield on, and it did a very good job of helping me blend in. Right away, I spot this doe making her way over towards me, and I was set up to try to harvest this doe when I turned around and looked and saw a doe right behind me.
Finally got some meat in the freezer. Wow, that was intense. These deer have been coming in where this rancher kind of stores his round bales. And we set up in here tonight. It's the last 30 minutes of shooting light. And we finally got our doe. We punched our South Dakota tag. It's sweet. I'm pumped. Scott earlier today, he was able to shoot that beautiful 5x5 muley, and now I just got a nice South Dakota doe. Sweet. That was awesome. Scott's on the other side of the round bales. I should probably keep it down a little bit. Well, here she is. First of all, I gotta thank Scott for bringing me out here and giving me a little taste of South Dakota deer hunting. I had a blast. I've never been so excited to harvest a doe. It's been really exciting. Like I said, Scott was able to harvest that 5x5 this morning, and we saw a lot of deer, and it's just a different way of hunting, that's for sure. But I get to bring some venison back home to Minnesota.